All right, everyone, we are going to do our last part of our habitats unit in this video. And in this video, we're going to talk about deserts. So enjoy this video of Mr. Stevens. This is in a desert, and it's called the Coral Pink Sand Dunes in southern Utah. And the sand is so high you can go sledding down it. So that's one of our favorite things to do in deserts. All right, so what is a desert? Well, a desert is an area of land that receives less than 10 inches of rainfall, which could also include snow, any sort of precipitation per year. And here in Utah, we know a lot about deserts. They are absolutely beautiful, and people come from all over the world to see the beautiful deserts that we have here. Some deserts in the world include, well, there's four major types of deserts: hot, cold, semi-arid, and coastal. We have cold deserts. The majority of them in Utah are cold deserts, but there are a little bit of hot deserts as well. Deserts that are found in Utah include, there's 8 actually: Bonneville Salt Flats, the Sevier Desert, Colorado Plateau, the Wyoming Basin, the Escalante Desert, Mojave Desert, the Great Basin Desert, and the Great Salt Lake Desert. Any guesses on what this one is? If you said Great Salt Lake, you are right. That's the Great Salt Lake Desert right there. All right, and the picture on the left, the Bonneville Salt Flats, the Colorado Plateau, the Escalante Desert, the Great Salt Lake Desert, the Great Basin Desert, Sevier Desert, Wyoming Basin Shrubs and Steppe, the Mojave Desert, and the Great Basin Desert. We live in the Great Basin Desert, which is the largest desert in the United States. It is a cold desert, so when it gets cold enough, precipitation falls in the form of snow. Right here, right where you live, is a cold desert. All right, as we learned earlier this year, Utah is the second driest state in the United States. The majority of Utah is a desert. If we turned off the sprinklers and there was no irrigation, we didn't water our plants or our grass, most of Utah would look like a desert. It would go back to its original, how it looked originally. So this is a picture of my backyard. Here's our grass, which is kind of slowly turning green. If we didn't water it and we didn't plant anything, our whole backyard would look just like it does back here in the fields. There might be a little bit of trees, but it's mostly going to be brush, and maybe some sagebrush could grow. But that's exactly what Utah would look like if we didn't do anything to it. It would just look like a desert, because that's what it is. So when we look at the map, we can see the Great Basin Desert is really big. It covers more than just Utah. It covers a lot of Utah, and then it goes over into Nevada and up into Oregon, a little bit of California as well. And that's the desert that we live in. All right, so let me go back to that. All right, so one thing I forgot to, oh, maybe I did talk about it, never mind. All right, a desert gets 10 inches of rain per year or less. All animals and plants that live in deserts have to adapt to living in the desert. They have had to figure out a way to survive so that they can live in the desert. So one of those plants is the prickly pear cactus, and they're really pretty. They have these colorful blooms on them. They open up, they're flowers, and bees love getting the nectar from them, and they survive because of the prickly pear cactus in some places. So how do they survive? They have leaves that are thick, and they have a waxy covering on the outside so they don't dry out easily. The spines or the needles protect it from the sun and the wind, and they're also able to store a lot of water inside of their leaves, as all cactuses can. Another plant that lives in the desert is sagebrush. This is common for us to see. Sagebrush is all over, and it is used by some animals for shade and for shelter. For example, rabbits hide and burrow in sagebrush. There's also another bird called the sage grouse and it lives in sagebrush. Sagebrush actually isn't just a little weed that grows fast. It takes a long time to grow. Sagebrush can be up to 4 feet high, which is like a small tree. So if that gets cut down and ruined or bulldozed, it's not going to be growing back anytime soon. It takes a long time to grow, just like a tree. Another plant that lives in the desert is the Utah juniper. The Utah juniper has the tap root that goes down, and it's incredible. If you look at this picture, this tree is actually living. It has pushed its roots into the rock. It's living in a rock. And their taproot is so strong that it can actually move the rocks and break them apart. If you look closely, the juniper has those scaly needles that I mentioned in the previous video. So they can be in forests or they can also be in deserts. The lifespan for a juniper could be up to 650 years, which is quite a long time. Another plant or another tree that lives in the deserts in Utah is the pinyon pine. They have adapted to survive in the Utah deserts. And in turn, they've adapted to live in the desert, and they also provide a lot of safe places for a lot of animals to live and get shade and find safety. Some other animals that have adapted to live in the desert are animals such as the Gila monster, which is a reptile, the red-tailed hawk. Did anyone catch that? The red-tailed hawk. The spadefoot toad, desert tortoises, which are endangered right now, the pinyon jay, which is a bird, the leaf-nosed bat, antelope squirrel, the kangaroo rat, the collared lizard, the sidewinder snake. Other plants that live in cold deserts would include this one called the bitter brush. If you actually eat a little leaf, it tastes very bitter. But it is an important source of food for cattle, sheep, and goats during the winter. The rubber rabbit brush is also an important food for deer, jackrabbits, mule deer, jackrabbits, and it can provide nesting places for birds. Other cold desert animals include the sage thrasher bird, the Great Basin rattlesnake, turkey vulture, the mourning dove, the jackrabbit, and the coyote. The jackrabbit is a common desert animal of Utah. To keep out of the sun on hot days, the jackrabbit stays hidden under shrubs or near clumps of grass. The jackrabbit has a special thing called ear conditioning. So instead of air conditioning, it's ear conditioning. And it can lose 1/3 of its body heat through its very large ears. So that instead of sweating to cool down, it loses its body heat through its ears. This helps it cool down on a hot desert day. The jackrabbit can run up to 35 miles per hour, which helps it escape predators like coyotes, foxes, and large snakes. Other cold desert animals include mule deer, the badger, prairie dogs, which are also endangered, like the desert tortoise, gopher snakes, Alright, so that's just a few of them. So what are some things we need to know about and remember about deserts? Well, deserts receive less than 10 inches of rain per year. Plants and animals that live in them have had to adapt to survive. They can be hot or cold deserts in Utah. Oh, I guess that's it. Okay, put that back up so you can write that down. Alright, I guess that's it for deserts. So, as before, make sure you take the quiz to go along with this, and anything you write down, you'll be able to use on the quiz and the final test. So write things down as you go and as you're listening. And that'll be it for this video. Thank you. Have a great day.